Hello everybody and welcome to my very first I Did It in My Pajamas show. And what this is going to be all about is just very informal, very casual. Grab a cup of tea, I've got mine here ready, put your pajamas on and just come and hang out with me for a few minutes as we have a little chat about my book, I Did It in My Pajamas. Tonight I'm going to introduce the book to you. I'm going to introduce how it all came about, how I got the title and why I love my pajamas so much. And in the coming weeks I'm going to be reading little snippets of the book to you and just sharing my journey with you. I really hope that you jump online to my website angeladesouza.com/books and grab yourself a copy and you can read along. Another thing that we'd really like to do is hear from you. So every week at the end of the show, we're going to answer some of your questions. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask about me, the book, business, anything really, we'll try answer as many questions as possible. So please pop your questions into the comment box below and we'll get back to them at the end of each show. And also, I have a little surprise for one of our Women's Business Club members at the end of each show, but you'll have to wait to the end to find out what that is. And so now, let me first have a nice sip of my cup of tea. I hope you've got yours, which my husband kindly made me, a nice green tea. Cheers. Right. So, the way the book came about. I was lying in my bath one day, as I do, unashamedly, during working hours. I have no problem saying that I'm working when I'm lying in the bath at, say, 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Because for me, it's very important that from time to time, I have thinking space. And so it was one of those days when I was in my bath and I was working, which means I was just lying there relaxing, thinking. And I was lying there thinking, I did it in my pajamas. What a great book title. And that's really how the book came about. Was the title. I just thought, oh, that would be such a fun title. I knew I wanted to write another book. I knew that I wanted to share more of my business journey with you. I had written a book prior to this one called Being You, which was all about just being you. It was about being authentic and just doing business from that place of just being yourself. I spent too many years trying to be someone I was not and realized, you know, it is exhausting. And so I wrote the book Being You. But tonight is about I Did It in My Pajamas. I knew I wanted to write another book. I had a great title. And so I thought, okay, well, we've got the title, we'll get the pictures done, and then we'll work on the content. So the content is very much my journey. My journey about what, you might ask, if you don't even know me. My journey is about the business that I started by accident called the Women's Business Club. The way the Women's Business Club started was really around my kitchen table. I was helping some businesswomen. Prior to that, I had been in a situation where I was helping women. It was a non-profit basis, and I was supporting my husband. He and I pastored a church, and so we were always trying to help people get what they could out of life and be all that they could be. And prior to that, and this is where my story really begins, I ran a company. It was a recruitment agency which I set up, and I set it up because I had this great idea called the video CV. And in order to get the video CV off the ground, I thought I'd better get into recruitment. And so I very naively jumped in both feet, spent a lot of money setting up this company to get this idea of the video CV off the ground. Now what happened was, I had no business experience, I had very little clue about what I was doing, I had a lot of passion, a lot of drive, and I was able to push through for much longer than I should have, but pretty much drove myself into a big hole of debt, took my family down with me, failed miserably in my very first attempt at business. So when I was sitting around the table with these two businesswomen, helping them with business, it was from that place of I wanted to help, not from the place of I felt I had something to offer them, but I just wanted to help because that's what I did. I had written myself off as a businesswoman. I was quite certain that that was not my gifting or calling. I was not meant to do business, but I still loved to help people. And so I found myself that day around the table with these women trying to help them. And after they had left, my husband came in and he said to me, "Why don't you charge for this?" To which I instantly laughed and dismissed it as ridiculous. I said to him, "How could I charge? What do I know?" But then he opened my eyes and he said to me that these ladies have come to you for help. You must have something to offer. And that got me thinking, maybe. And so I did. I attended my very first networking event where I got businesswomen together and wanted to connect people and support them and help them in their business. But I wanted to fail. I wanted to prove to myself and to him and to anybody who knew me that I was no good at business. I actually charged too much. I did everything to put myself in a position where I would fail because I had written myself off as a businesswoman. However, at the very first networking event, I just absolutely loved it and came alive and made a profit. At the end of it, I was like, oh, that was amazing. Still, I wasn't convinced that I was a businesswoman. I had one successful event and so I tried again, same story. This time I had a little bit of a budget to buy name badges, but we'll get to that. That's one of the chapters on how I did it without any money. And then I thought, okay, let's test this. Let's stretch it a bit more. So I started offering half-day workshops, again, charging what I would say at the time I felt was too much, but obviously looking back it wasn't. But it was more than I was comfortable charging, but I wanted, again, to set myself up for failure. So I thought, if I charge too much, no one will come. But people did come. And I did training workshops on things that I knew and had experience in. It's like, oh, interesting. So I thought, okay, what I've set up with a networking group, which is happening every month, and some training workshops could potentially be a viable franchise model. That would be fun. So on the footer of the website, right at the bottom in small print, very tiny words, I wrote there, franchise opportunities available for £5,000. The very next day, I saw 2. What? Still didn't believe it and still wasn't convinced that I could do anything good in business. But when the money hit the bank, it became very real. I was like, okay, this is serious. People actually think I have something to offer. And so that's really how the Women's Business Club started. And that's really the very beginning of my journey. It took a long time for me to take myself seriously as a businesswoman. What I didn't realize was that everything that I learned in my first business, even though it failed, every single thing I went through gave me something to offer the world. I knew how not to do it. I knew how not to do very many things. I knew how to get very many things wrong. And so this business is set up very differently, and I have got a lot of things right because of my first failure, and that is valuable. So in September 2013, the Women's Business Club was officially born. And I did it in my pajamas is that journey. It's how I set up the Women's Business Club from that place of not really being sure of myself as a businesswoman, but knowing that I love to help. From that place of having literally zero in the bank. I'm not talking about some of those business people that say that they started a business with nothing, but actually they had an inheritance or they had a bank loan or whatever. I went to my very first networking event with zero in the bank. I pre-charged. I got an invoice from the venue to pay after people had paid, and that's how I started. But I'll cover that more in the chapter of how I did it with zero capital. So, I did it in my pajamas, looks at the real nitty-gritty, sometimes ugly, sometimes amazing side of business. I've always been frustrated by reading books by people. They just seem so perfect, and the business journey seems so easy, and they seem to breeze through it, and they make millions, and it just seems like, you know, it's just so easy. And I didn't want to write to you like that. I wanted to write about the real stuff, the taboo stuff, the stuff that people don't like to talk about. I wanted to talk about how I cope with various obstacles and just things that I'd faced, and I wanted to write about it in a real way. So first of all, I had to be willing to be vulnerable and reveal a little bit about my personal life to the readers. So you'll find out more if you tune in next Sunday and the Sundays to come. But for tonight, we're just going to look through the very beginning of the book. And one of the things that I love is quotes. I love learning from other people. And so you'll find I did it in my pajamas, full of amazing quotes from amazing people. So on the very first page, before we even get started, in the introduction, there's a quote by Abraham Lincoln. And he said, "Most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be." That is powerful. I could just shut the book here and that's enough for tonight, but I'm not going to. But really, it's a choice. It's a daily choice. We can choose. There's always a flip side to the coin. There's always a heads and there's always a tails, and it depends how you want to look at it. But we can choose to be as happy as we make up our mind to be. So I'm going to read to you tonight just the introduction. We'll start off slowly. And the subtitle to the book is that there are no recipes. And I really believe that in business, there are no recipes. There are principles, tried and tested principles. But you know what? The best businesses are the people who have broken the mold, smashed the mold, disregarded the rules, innovated. And so we need to remember that, yes, there are things that we can, there are recipes, there are guidelines, there are principles that we can follow, we can learn from, but we can also adapt them, we can also tweak, we can also break them. So that's really really how I've written this book is, you know what, this is how I did it. This is not a recipe book. You can't follow this word for word and think that you're going to come up with the same results, because you're a different person. You have different struggles. You'll face different things. It's not a recipe book. This is my journey, and I really hope it inspires you and help you realize that if I can do it, you can do it. Very often, I get asked about the rules and how-tos of business, such as, how do I build my business? How can I get more sales? How can I make more money quickly? How did you do it? It seems everyone wants the recipe or the map for a shortcut to instant wealth and success. Several people claim that they have the recipe and map, which for a hefty sum, they will share with you. I honestly believe that there aren't any recipes or maps, and I would go as far as to say that there are also very few rules. This is how I built my business, the Women's Business Club, and what you are about to read is my ongoing journey with all its ups, downs, successes, and failures. When it comes to business, few people ask the right questions. Think about it. If we all followed a set of rules, there would be no creativity, no innovation, and no fun. Some rules were made to be broken. Odds are meant to be defied. Methods should be changed. However, some rules must be obeyed, or we will end up in chaos. A great business leader will know which rules to break and which rules to respect. I honor the laws of our land, especially parking rules and the speed limit. Apart from the fact that it's dangerous to ignore them, I particularly don't like paying fines. These are the rules I'm not willing to break because I don't want to bear the consequences of breaking them. Other rules that I particularly like to adhere to is the zero of my bank balance. Messing with the zero and the unarranged overdraft costs bank charges, affects my credit rating, and can lead to a great deal of inconvenience if payments can't be made. So I don't mess around with that one either. I stay as far away from the zero as possible. However, I break the rules of dress code regularly. Many mornings I simply don't get dressed and work at home in my pajamas. In winter, I can even be found in bed with my laptop and mobile phone conducting business as usual. Those who know me also know that I can be found working in the bathtub or on a hilltop. Who says you have to work in an office between 9 and 5? My best work is done at 5 a.m. or 11 p.m. on some days, and very often lately, 3 a.m. These are rules that I have no problem breaking, and I refuse to conform to the conventional 9 to 5. And don't get me started on the traditional business plan. I break most of the rules there and teach others to do so too when their personality type requires me to do so. However, I also teach other personality type businesses how to write a traditional business plan. In a nutshell, I try to do what is best for a particular individual or business and not what everyone else is doing. Laura Kelly, my daughter, photographer and owner of the Cheltenham Women's Business Club, struggled to be inspired by her business plan. Without giving it a thought, I told her to buy a scrapbook and do it scrapbook style. The results were phenomenal. She actually loved every minute of creating her business plan and injected fresh creativity into her business. Why? Because we broke the rules and threw the recipe out of the window. I Did It in My Pyjamas is a story of how I built the Women's Business Club from nothing to the national success that it is today. I have by no means arrived, but write this almost as a travel diary of my journey to share what I've learned and am still learning. This is not a recipe book and does not contain a magic formula for how to get rich quickly. 7 steps do not exist, and any numbered list within these pages simply to make reading a little easier, not to prescribe the exact way to run a business. You are very welcome to add your own points to my lists or disregard points you disagree with. This is my story, and I hope it inspires you to write your story in your own way. I did it in my pyjamas. How are you building your business? And that's the introduction. And I had a little surprise for one of our members. I did say, today's bookmark in my book is a business card from one of our Cheltenham members. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Magdalena Launska from Wellness Emotion. Congratulations, you are today's featured member. Woo! What I'm going to do every week is I'm going to just mention one of our members just for fun and just to encourage you. So Magdalena runs Wellness in Motion. She does massage therapy, wellness programs, workshops, and her website is wellnessinmotion.co.uk. So do go check Magdalena out. And if you want me to feature your business, you have to be a member. So send me your business card, and if you have any products or anything you want me to test or review or put in front of the camera, send them in to me, and every Sunday night I'll feature one of our Women's Business Club members at the end of my show. And from next week we're going to start doing Q&A as well. So if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, then please pop them in the comment box below this video, and next week I'll answer as many of them as possible. So it's great to spend the evening with you. I think my tea's gone cold. I forgot to drink it. And I will see you this time next Sunday. Have a blessed week. Slide to turn it off. Bye. Sounds good.